Getting him up the steps was the hardest part. Hannah bribed while Mikey threatened, and Sky, holding both doors open, kept yelling at them to hurry. Hannah waved a bunch of grass under Shadrach's nose, saying, "You don't realise that this is a matter of life or death. Your life, Shadrach." At the other end, Mikey pushed and growled, "Move, you big dog's dinner!" After much balking and snorting, Shadrach suddenly changed his mind and lurched up the steps, straight through the vestibule and into the main body of the church. Sky and Mikey quickly closed the doors. It was a small church, only 7 pews on each side, and it had a sweet, spicy smell which felt warm at the back of their throats. It was also very quiet. Mikey looked up. The arches under the roof were like arms folded over them. For some reason, he felt he had to talk in a whisper. "I can't hear any traffic." Hannah whispered back, "I wonder if there's any water. He's terribly thirsty. I'm going to look." She went down the aisle and through a door at the other end while Mikey stayed with Shadrach. Sky looked round him and said in a hushed voice, "Does God really live here?" Mikey took his school bag off his shoulders. Like the rest of him, his bag had been soaked by the runaway hose, but fortunately the lunch inside was covered with plastic. He began to unwrap it, then saw that it was squashed, 6 sandwiches pulped to one soggy mass of bread, lettuce and peanut butter. He remembered that he'd used his bag as a cushion in the freight truck, and he felt worse because he could only blame himself. He was hungry, but he'd have to be starving to death to eat this mess. Sky was wandering around the church looking at things, the pictures round the walls, the flickering red light, the candlesticks. He seemed interested in the statue of Mary and Jesus and walked back and forth in front of it, leaving wet marks on the floor. Somewhere, Hannah had found water in a plastic bucket. She brought the filled bucket to Shadrach, who drank quickly and noisily. "Poor thirsty horse," said Hannah, kissing him on the nose. "I'll get you some more." "Do you think you should?" Mikey asked. He was aware that the marks they were making with their wet clothes and shoes would be nothing compared with a puddle from Shadrach, and this was a church. "I bet he's had nothing to drink for 2 days," said Hannah. "We could be in here for ages," Mikey reminded her. "Maybe until it's dark and Mr. Stink has gone home. We can't go out while he's looking for us." "One of us can," said Hannah. "They'll have a phone at the service station. One of us can sneak out and ring Sophie and Joe." Mikey thought about that. "What if they say we have to take Shadrach back to the factory?" "We won't do it," Hannah said crisply. Mikey winced. "More problems." "They started all this," Hannah said. "They're the ones in the wrong. I'm going to get him another bucket of water." Mikey sat down in a pew. He thought that maybe it would help to say a prayer. However, he didn't know how effective prayers were from someone who'd brought a horse into a church. He sighed from the soles of his feet. "We're in big trouble," he whispered. "Big, big trouble. I don't want any special favours or that magic stuff. Just do what you can." He opened his eyes, then shut them again. "There's something I should warn you about. Shadrach isn't house-trained." The second bucket of water was drunk as eagerly as the first. Mikey physically stood in the way of Hannah's intention to fill the bucket a 3rd time. In the end, she put the bucket back and they all examined their lunches to see if there was anything worth eating. Hannah's sandwiches were as pulped as Mikey's, but Sky's were fine. They'd been packed in a solid Popeye lunchbox. They had 1 peanut butter and lettuce each and shared an apple bite by bite. "I don't think God is at home today," said Sky with his mouth full, "but I talked to Mrs. God." He pointed to the statue of Mary. "She says it's okay to have horses in here." Hannah looked at Mikey. "Who's going to phone home?" "You," said Mikey quickly. "We'll toss," said Hannah, taking a 10-cent coin from her pocket. "You can tell them better," Mikey pleaded. "You know what to say. Heads or tails?" "It was your idea." "And it was you who gave the idea to me. Heads or tails?" "Heads." The coin came up heads as Mikey knew it would. He pulled a face and stood up. "Where's the money?" "You don't need money. Make it a collect call." Mikey opened the church door slowly, just in case the wuff-stuff man was outside. He wasn't. The road in front of the church was clear. He walked to the corner of the building, flattening himself against the wall like someone from a cops and robbers movie. He could see a bit of the dog meat factory in the distance, but couldn't smell it. There were no horses either. Feeling more confident, he ran down the road to the service station. The area beside the petrol pumps was fully taken up by a green Holden ute and an old caravan the same colour. At first, Mikey thought the ute was towing a horse float, but that was only because he had horses and floats in mind. It was a caravan, all right, with small windows shuttered with Venetian blinds and a gas bottle on the front. The people it belonged to were in the service station buying a map. They were both quite old. Mikey looked round for a public phone. There wasn't one. He would have to wait and ask the attendant if he could use his. The attendant was in no hurry. He opened the map in front of the couple and showed them places of scenic interest in the South Island. When you get down the west coast, you must visit the Pancake Rocks at Punakaiki. I remember those from years back, the man exclaimed. But Marge here has never been to the South Island before. My cousin and Nelson has lent us his caravan and ute for a fortnight. Mikey fidgeted, glancing every now and then at the road. Here's the Franz Joseph Glacier, said the attendant, drawing another circle on the map. If you don't want to walk, they have helicopter rides. Hey, listen to this. He suddenly reached across the counter and turned up the volume on the radio. The newsreader's voice filled the service station. An unusual sight in the streets of Nelson today, as a dozen or more horses joined shoppers in several stores. A publicity stunt? Apparently not. According to Craig Benny of Harvey Road, the horses were released from his pet food factory this afternoon. They were here, cried the attendant. I saw them go past. Mikey stood absolutely still. It was like a stampede, the attendant laughed. The newsreader continued. So, if you should find an elderly nag in your garden or lurking behind the shelves of your local supermarket, please contact Craig Benny, the manager. The attendant turned down the noise. Vandals, he said. Some kids opened the gates. Mikey wondered if he should run, but while he had in his head a picture of himself rushing away with the attendant close behind, his feet stayed on the black rubber mat of the service station floor. Poor old horses, said the old man. I'm so glad they got away, the woman said. Where are you heading tonight? The attendant asked, turning back to the map. The woman replied, We want to go to Havelock to see where Lord Rutherford lived. You know, the man who discovered how to split the atom. We thought we'd stay here tonight. Does Havelock have a camping ground? Oh, sure. Right down by the foreshore. There won't be many campers this time of year. Easy journey. About an hour and a half from here. Thank you, said the woman. You are very kind. One more thing, the man said. Is there a place round here where we can get a meal? Not in Harvey Street, but if you go down half a block and turn right, you'll find a seafood place. Best fish and chips in Nelson. Tell them Ewan from the service station sent you. Can we leave the ute and caravan here? The man asked. Sure. Park it round the side and it'll be fine. As the man and woman left, Mikey stepped forward. Excuse me, he said with perfect politeness. I don't want to bother you, but please may I use your phone? No, said the attendant. Mikey didn't know what to say. He watched the attendant tidying up a rack of road maps. It's for a collect call, he said in a weak voice. Plenty of call boxes in town, said the attendant. I keep this phone for me and my customers. Mikey turned and went out quickly, his heart beating like a drum. It would be his kind of luck if the attendant was a friend of the wuff-stuff man. Between the service station and the church, he stopped to look at the elderly couple who were having some difficulty backing the caravan into a parking space at the side of the service station. After several attempts, they left the ute and caravan at an awkward angle, got out and walked down the street arm in arm. When they were well out of sight, Mikey walked over to the caravan, measuring it with his eye. The door had an ordinary latch with no space for a key. But was it wide enough? He ran back to the church, calling softly as he went in. It's all right. It's only me. Hannah pounced on him. What did they say? I didn't ring them. I couldn't. The guy wouldn't let me use the phone. You were away ages and ages, said Sky. I couldn't help it. I had to wait to ask him. He grabbed Hannah's arm. I want to show you something. What? Mikey took her to the front door. See that green caravan over there? It belongs to 2 old people who like horses. Look at the door. It isn't locked. Do you think we could get him in? Hannah stared. I don't know. Because if we can, said Mikey, I think we've got a ride as far as Havelock.